Have you ever had a feeling about something, ignored it, and then later realized your inner voice was right all along? It's strange, isn't it? People are taught to trust facts, logic, and everyone else's opinions, but very few are taught how to trust your intuition without feeling irrational. And yet, some of the biggest mistakes in life don't happen because you knew nothing. They happen because you knew something quietly and talked yourself out of it. Here's the paradox. The more disconnected people feel from themselves, the more they try to solve everything with their mind, forgetting about their heart and how they feel. But that's exactly why lots of people struggle with intuition versus anxiety, because overthinking can sound intelligent while actually pulling you further away from the truth. In many cases, the answer isn't more analysis. It's learning to trust your gut before fear turns one honest signal into 10 confusing stories. Today, we're going to talk about this inner guidance we all carry and how you can reconnect with it, because it's already in you. And once you understand how it speaks, why you stopped listening, and how to trust yourself again, you can make clearer decisions, stop overthinking, and move through life with a lot more peace. So if you've been feeling stuck, confused, or tired of doubting what you feel deep down, this might be the conversation that helps everything finally click. So let's start with what intuition actually is. Intuition is that quiet inner knowing that shows up before your mind has gathered all the evidence. It's the feeling that whispers, "Something here matters," even when you can't explain it yet. And honestly, learning how to trust your intuition starts with accepting that not every truth arrives wearing a name tag. A lot of people confuse intuition with fear or anxiety, and that's where things start to get messy. Anxiety feels noisy, rushed, and full of worst-case scenarios, while intuition is usually calm, clear, and strangely steady. One pushes you into panic. The other invites you to trust your gut without all the drama. When you begin to notice that difference, you also begin to stop overthinking and hear yourself more clearly. That's a big part of how to trust yourself, not believing every fearful thought just because it showed up first. And once you start recognizing that inner voice, the next question becomes even more interesting. How exactly does it speak to you? Intuition rarely kicks the door down. It usually knocks softly and waits to see if you're paying attention. For some people, it shows up as a tight feeling in the stomach in one moment and a deep sense of peace in another. In my experience, it feels more like a deep sense of knowing, even when I can't explain why. Whatever form it takes for you, it often feels like your body and soul know something before your mind fully catches up. That's why people who want to learn how to trust their intuition often need to listen with more than just their thoughts. They need to listen with their heart too. Sometimes intuition feels like a repeated nudge you can't quite shake, even when you try to explain it away. For example, you meet someone and everything looks fine at first, but something in you quietly pulls back. Or the opposite happens. You have an unexpected idea that makes you feel light, aligned, and on the right path. As if you were meant to go through that experience to learn and grow. When you trust your gut, you begin to notice that inner guidance has its own language, a sense of knowing, clarity, calm, and quiet certainty about the path in front of you. It's important to remember that intuition can sometimes be confused with anxiety or fear. One feels like a deep inner knowing that brings clarity and a sense that you're moving in the right direction. The other feels like fear, leading you to believe the worst is about to happen based on your past. Anxiety tends to spiral and repeat itself like a smoke alarm with low batteries, and your body often feels agitated or restless. Intuition, on the other hand, usually brings a sense of peace, safety, and quiet, knowing that this is the direction that serves you best on a deeper level. So why do so many people ignore what they feel deep down, even when something clearly feels off? A lot of the time, it's because they've been trained to keep the peace, be agreeable, and look outside themselves for the right answer. That's how your intuition gets buried under approval, fear, and the exhausting habit to stop overthinking everything. And if your whole life has taught you to make other people comfortable first, would you even recognize your own truth right away? That's where intuition and anxiety gets blurry, because the more disconnected you feel from yourself, the harder it is to trust your gut. Once you see that, you start to understand why listening to intuition is not just helpful, it's deeply necessary. Listening to your intuition matters because it often sees what your excuses are still trying to soften. It can warn you before a situation drains you, before a relationship turns unhealthy, or before a decision pulls you away from who you really are. That's why people who learn how to trust their intuition often avoid pain they can't logically explain yet. Intuition is not just about protection, it's also about alignment, about soul connection. It helps you notice which opportunities feel expansive, which friendships feel safe, and which choices bring peace instead of performance. When you trust your gut, you stop building a life that only looks good from the outside and start building one that actually feels right on the inside. Think about the times you said yes while something in you was quietly saying no. That tension is often the cost of ignoring yourself, and the longer you do it, the harder how to trust yourself can feel. So the real question becomes, if intuition is always speaking, how do you strengthen it enough to hear it clearly and follow it? If you want to strengthen your intuition, the first step is usually not doing more, but slowing down enough to notice what's already there. Intuition doesn't compete well with noise, so if your mind is constantly full, your inner voice gets pushed to the back, like the quiet kid in class. Start simple. Pause before answering, journal what you feel before asking for advice, and pay attention to how your body reacts around people and decisions. A peaceful yes feels very different from a pressured yes, and once you notice that, intuition and anxiety becomes much easier to separate. If you want to trust your gut, try taking one small action each week based on what feels deeply right, even if it isn't fully logical yet. You can also build this muscle by being radically honest with yourself in tiny moments. Ask, what do I already know here? And what am I pretending not to notice? Because that's often where how to trust yourself begins and where you finally stop overthinking. And once all of this starts coming together, the conversation naturally opens into something even more powerful: how to introduce this truth in a way that grabs the heart right away. Now the real shift begins when you start treating intuition like a skill you can actually use. Don't just hear this, do something with it. Pay attention to what your body has been telling you. Notice where fear has been disguising itself as logic. And make one small decision this today that reflects how to trust your intuition in real life. When you finally learn to trust your intuition, and with it trust yourself, you don't just make better choices. You become someone who stops abandoning themselves out of fear. And honestly, that kind of change is worth far more than another month of doubting what you already know deep down. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever ignored your intuition and later realized it was right? And what is one area of your life where you know it's time to stop overthinking and start listening to yourself more honestly? I'd love to read your answers in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We're always sharing tools and insights to help you grow. And if you have a friend who could benefit from this message, share this video with them. Sometimes it's exactly what someone needs to hear today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.